Hello, it's Dave. Today I made a little AI of a person. It's just Mr. J, but I wonder what happens if I make a little creepypasta story of him, even though he's a really horrible analog horror. So yeah, I tested it out. Yeah, I'm just gonna read the story, I guess. The static bleeds through. Okay, so I'm not usually one to mess with old tech, but my grandpa passed away recently, and he had this collection. Mostly dusty records and weird gadgets, but tucked away is an attic. I found a box of VHS tapes. Nothing too exciting at first glance. Home, movies, recorded TV shows, the usual, but one tape was different. No label, just black electrical tape wrapped around it. Curiosity got the better of me. I hooked up my old VCR, the kinda that probably eats tapes for breakfast. The screen flickered to life, a wall of static hissing through the speakers. I almost ejected it. Figured it was just a bad recording, but then the static shifted. It started to form patterns, disoriented faces, fleeting images of twisted landscapes, all flashing by too fast to comprehend. It was unsettling, but I couldn't look away. The video cleared, revealing what looked like a dingy basement. The camera was shaky, handheld. A young man, maybe late teens, stood in the center of the frame. He was skinny, wearing a stained t-shirt, and his eyes, they were wide, almost maniac. He introduced himself as Mr. J, said he was 14. Something was off. He looked way older, his voice raspy, like he's been screaming for days. "Welcome to my world," he said, his voice a bizarre mix of childlike enthusiasm and something utterly chilling. "Today we're gonna have some fun." What followed was disturbing. Mr. J rambled incoherently about the static, about being the god of the static. He paced around the basement, occasionally stopping to pick up random objects: a crowbar, a dented metal pipe, and a jar filled with something murky and unidentifiable. He talked about these objects as if they were friends, his voice switching between high-pitched giggles and guttural growls. Then came the first act of violence. It was quick, brutal, and off-screen. I just heard a sickening thud, followed by Mr. J's maniacal laugh. The camera panned down to show a crimson stain spreading across the concrete floor. My stomach churned. I wanted to stop watching, but I was paralyzed. I had to know what this was. The tape continued, documenting Mr. J's descent into madness. He spoke of voices in his head, of orders he had to obey. He mentioned the creators being beyond his understanding and his constant struggles to please them. He murdered more people, each act more grotesque than last. He claimed his crowbar was heavier than beyond human comprehension, filled with the souls of his victims. It was pure, unadulterated madness captured on tape. He talked about a wife keeping her identity secret, only referring to her with affection. It was only a glimpse of humanity I saw in him, but even that was twisted, corrupted by the static that seemed to cling to his every word, every movement. He also spoke of the enemy, a godlike figure he was obsessed with killing. He seemed to believe this entity was responsible for his suffering, for trapping him in this twisted reality. One segment was particularly unnerving. Mr. J stood directly in front of the camera, his face inches off the lens. His eyes were bloodshot, pupils dilated. He began to sob, a raw, animalistic sound that sent shivers down my spine.
They're always watching,
he whispered, his voice cracking.
She's always watching, Marissa. She keeps me from breaking.
Then he looked directly into the camera, directly at me. A chilling smile spread across his face.
But soon,
he hissed,
she won't be able to stop me anymore.
The tape ended abruptly with more static. I ripped it out of the VCR, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I wanted to destroy it, to erase all traces of Mr. J from my life. But something held me back. There was something compelling about the horror I had to witness. I couldn't explain it. I just had to understand. I spent weeks researching, trying to find any information about Mr. J. Nothing. He didn't exist. He was a ghost, a figment of some imagination. But the tape was real. Then, one night, I was woken up by a strange, humming sound. It was coming from the basement. I grabbed a flashlight and crept downstairs, my heart pounding in my chest. The humming grew louder, resonating in my bones. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw it. My old VCR, the one I had used to watch the tape, was on. The screen was filled in static, but this time, the static wasn't just random noise. It was cleansing. It was forming a figure. A figure 12 feet tall. The figure took a shape until it was standing in my basement. Standing there was a man who looked to be in late teens, but the eyes were not. Should be pure evil. In his right hand, he wielded a crowbar. Mr. J stepped out of the static and directly to me, his eyes glowing as if it was expecting me to arrive.
Hello,
he said.
I was wondering when you'll come here.
Okay. Honestly, that was actually pretty fire. Maybe like a 9.5 out of 10. It's because it was off a cliffhanger. I need to make it longer. I might make another one next time. Maybe either for Mr. J again or Young J. Yeah, that was really it. Thank y'all so much for watching. Yeah.